It's time to rest again, rebels. Let the day fade slowly into night, and as you do, notice your breath as it moves in and out of your body. In and out. In and out again. With each release, picture all the twinkling stars in the night sky. There, can you see the Big Dipper? Its two outermost stars in its bowl pointing toward the North Star, the brightest star in the night sky. Or maybe you can spot Mars with its steady, never blinking reddish glow. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about a rebel stargazer named Nora Matrooshi, who loves to sit outside on a clear night, staring up at the ancient constellations in the sky, and imagine herself walking on the surface of Earth's silvery moon. Nora traveled to the moon when she was just 5 years old.
It wasn't actually the moon, but it sure felt like it.
She and her kindergarten classmates made astronaut helmets and backpacks out of cardboard and construction paper. Then they all ducked under a large black tent in the middle of their classroom. Everyone giggled and squirmed as the lights in the room went dark. And their journey began. "We've landed," someone called out. "On the moon!" Nora and her classmates all crept out from under the tent. It was still dark around them, and everything they could see was coated in a layer of gray. "Everything's covered in gray fabric," someone yelled. "No, it's moon dust," their teacher corrected. Nora smiled wide as she peered through the opening in her cardboard helmet. She knew it was a game, but she loved to pretend it was real. The 5-year-old astronauts explored this new gray world, including big rocks that felt a lot like their desks. Then they huddled together in their tent, removed their helmets, and ate freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, just like real astronauts in space. The ice cream was hard and crunchy at first, but it was so sweet when it melted on Nora's tongue. This was the most delicious treat of all, something made not for people on Earth, but for visitors of outer space. The astronauts learned about the planets in our solar system and the billions of stars shining down on us from light years away. They learned about the first men to walk on the moon, but she kept wondering, why aren't there any women who've been to the moon? Right then and there, Nora decided that one day she would board a real rocket ship and blast off. One day, Nora planned to walk on the surface of the real moon. Nora grew up in the United Arab Emirates, or UAE for short, which is a desert country in Western Asia. The UAE is divided into 7 parts, or emirates, and Nora lived in the Emirate of Sharjah, a bustling city along the Persian Gulf. The UAE is home to the tallest building in the world, the fastest roller coaster in the world, and even the biggest shopping mall in the world. Nora loved growing up in Sharjah, but after that memorable day in kindergarten, She had her heart set on visiting somewhere even more exciting and far away. When she came home from school and told her parents that she wanted to be an astronaut, they said, "You can be anything and you can go anywhere, as long as you put your mind to it." And that is exactly what she did. Nora loved to read, write, and draw. She loved horseback riding and spending time with her family. But always, her favorite activity was stargazing. She stared up at the sky at night, memorizing the patterns of the stars. Nora learned everything she could about space travel and what it might take to become an astronaut. Then, when Nora was in high school, she watched a documentary about a crew of astronauts living on the International Space Station, which is a science laboratory in outer space that orbits the Earth. Several hundred astronauts have lived and worked on the space station since it was first built. Nora longed to be one of them, spending her days floating around in zero gravity, eating freeze-dried foods, and studying the vast skies. She also noticed that many of those crew members were engineers. Aha! Engineers are trained to analyze a lot of information in a short period of time and to come up with creative solutions to big problems. Nora's dad was an engineer and loved tackling new puzzles and questions. Nora decided to study engineering too. She was actually training to work as a mechanical engineer when the UAE's government started a brand new program, the United Arab Emirates Space Agency. The new program was created to become a center of innovation in space, science, and technology. Just a few years after the program began, they announced that they would begin training 4 people to go into space. The first 2 people selected were both men. One was a pilot and the other an engineer. When the next round of applications opened up for the 3rd and 4th astronaut trainee spots, Nora knew this was her chance. Over 4,000 UAE citizens applied for the 2 positions. There were so many interviews and all kinds of different tests you had to take. After all, to be an astronaut, you have to show that you can work well under serious pressure. If you make a mistake up in space, it can be deadly. You have to be able to think quickly and still make smart decisions. You have to take physical fitness and endurance tests to prove that you are capable of tackling all the pressures of living in zero gravity. And you have to prove that you can work really well as part of a team and get along with people, since you might live in a tiny space station with a small crew for months or even years at a time. The application process took an entire year. Nora's friends and family kept asking, "How did you do? When are they going to call you? When are they going to tell you if you've been selected?" It was thrilling and nerve-wracking. Gazing up at those stars now, Nora felt like they were so close and yet so far away, all at the same time. When the phone rang and Nora realized it was from the space agency, her heart was beating so fast she could barely breathe. She knew she was meant to do this. She felt it in her core, in her blood. Some of Nora's ancestors had been sailors. They lived their lives on boats, exploring the Earth's mighty oceans. Nora felt like she had been born to explore the unknown too, the wild, vast ocean called outer space. "Is this Nora al-Matrooshi?" the voice on the other end of the line said. "It is," she replied. And then she heard the words that would change her life forever. She'd been chosen to be the very first Arab female astronaut in training. Our story doesn't end here, Rebels. In fact, it's just the beginning. Nora is still in intense training. She's learning survival skills and flight training. She has to get her diver's license because the closest thing we have to feeling like you're living in a place without gravity is spending long periods of time deep underwater. There are so many things that Nora will have to learn and prove that she can do well if she wants a chance to finally board a real rocket ship. It's overwhelming, but so exciting. And Nora's journey is filled with firsts, not just for her, but for her country and for the world. If she does well in her training, she might have a chance to join NASA's Artemis mission and become one of the first people of color to step onto the moon. Oh, the beautiful moon shining down on us all as we snuggle in for the night and let ourselves float into a dream. And now, Rebels, find your breath again. In and out. As you breathe in, imagine yourself growing rounder and bolder and brighter, like a full moon. And as you breathe out, imagine yourself fading into a silvery crescent. In and out. Expanding and contracting, but always shining bright.
This podcast is a production of Rebel Girls. It's based on the book series Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. This story was produced by Olivia Riçhard, with sound design and mixing by Mumble Media. It was written by Emily McMahon-Wattez, fact-checking by Joe Rhatigan, narration by Yasmeen Ansari-Roberts. Thank you to the whole Rebel Girls team who make this podcast possible. Stay Rebel.